What kind of financial implications would an entrepreneur need to be prepared for? Like you kind of alluded to this earlier, but should people be, mentally ready and financially ready to operate at a loss for a while? Are there other unexpected things when it comes to bank accounts, budgets, just overall financial tracking that are really difficult about geographic expansion?
Yeah, we keep on our P&L. Each branch has a separate P&L, and it's the overall company P&L, and also by service. And um, we were prepared each time to lose money. And now, if we didn't lose money, that was great. But we had to be mentally prepared. Okay, so if can we, what would it take? What's the first year going to look like? What's our break even point? So how much top line revenue do we need to have? What's it going to look like? How many years are we going to tough this out? Luckily, Cedar Rapids went really well, and I think we were profitable probably 2 years in. I think they held their own even the first year. We got pretty lucky, and we got some nice accounts, and it wasn't a huge profit center, but at least it carried itself. So yeah, if you're already financially strapped in your headquarters or wherever you're at, it's just going to add stress. You're going to make poor business decisions. You're not going to be able to allocate the people. You're not going to allocate the right equipment. And so we had to go into it with the mental state of, okay, how much can we lose? What's our comfort level, and how long are we willing to lose that money? And so and logistically there are times. I mean, we have to go over to these branches several times a week if there's an employee issue that maybe HR's got to go over. So for us, having them within an hour and a half and 2 hours away, there's probably not a week that goes by that somebody from our Des Moines office isn't going over there to help with
Right.
something going on in the branch.
Totally. And on the note of people, tell me a bit about like how did your role as a leader need to change over the course of those expansions? What did leadership for you look like as these things shifted?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just needed to be more big picture. Again, it had to be from a visionary standpoint. What does the company look like today? Where do we want to take it? What hurdles are in the way? And I'm kind of old school, so I write a lot of stuff down. And so, where are we today? What are we not good at? What would it take to get us? What hurdles? What do we got to get over? And then try to pick those one, two, three things off that we think that we can do better. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed and we got to fix everything. I was like, can we just fix one or two things at a time? Okay, we've got an employee issue. Okay, we got to work on training or recruiting or retaining, and so I think you've got to really look at the entire picture. And as a business owner, I had to get smarter with the financials and understand the impact. We had to have relationships with other banks. We had to also go to our bank and explain to them ahead of time we're expanding. We may need a line of credit. We may need to, find other equipment dealers. One of the things as we were buying all the equipment in Des Moines and sending it over to these other branches. Well, when the equipment broke down, the local dealers didn't want to fix it, right? Because we didn't buy it there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Didn't even think about that. They're
Right.
like, well, you didn't. It's under the warranty, but you're not going to go to the top of the list. You didn't buy it from us. So we quickly figured out that we also needed to buy locally if we wanted to establish relationships with local, equipment dealers, car dealers, fertilizer suppliers, whatever it may be. So we had to change our business quite a bit as things shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
What I'm curious if there's anything like looking back now, and this is we mentioned offline, like the Cedar Rapids expansion happened in 2011, Omaha a few years later in 2015. As we record this, it's 2022, so we have the luxury of hindsight, or at least you do, to look back on this story. When you're kind of reflecting on these chapters, is there anything that stands out as really unexpectedly hard, like something that really surprised you that was difficult about this journey that, someone who's about to go into it themselves would have no idea about right now?
I think for the hardest, I guess the biggest challenge was the Omaha office for us. I think we got maybe a little arrogant, a little bit cocky, and thought we would just go to Omaha. I mean, it's a huge market. We'll go over there. We're just going to kick butt. And what we quickly found out is we sent somebody from our Des Moines office. We looked at our team and said, "Hey, Josh, we think would you like to move your family to Omaha? That's going to be a great opportunity. So he goes to Omaha. He's new. He doesn't know. He's in a new role. He knows nobody in Omaha or the Council Bluffs market, which over there. So it took until I think this year or last year to actually get profitable. I mean, we were really close to shutting that branch down. We just couldn't get any traction, and so he's going to outings. He's joined the Chamber of Commerce. We're sponsoring golf outings. He's kissing babies and shaking hands with everybody, and there's already companies that have been in that Omaha market for 20, 30, 40 years, and here's this new company that nobody's heard of. Mm-hmm. We're not a low-cost provider, so they're like, so we've never heard of you, and you're the most expensive?
Right.
Yeah.
Tough. And so I think for us, that was a pretty humbling experience to really had some really tough conversations. Like, how are we not getting any accounts over here?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the easy answer is, well, let's just lower our prices. And then it's like, okay, so we're going to have a non-profitable branch and have the wrong clients, or how much longer can we tough this out and keep doing what we're doing, believe in our system, stay with our culture, stay with our core values, and continue to tell our story. And then we got one account, 2 accounts, and then it just started to get that little bit of a snowball effect. And, today that Omaha branch is thriving and probably will be bigger than our Cedar Rapids branch. Wow. But it took, 6 or 7 years. And most would have thrown the towel in. Luckily for us, our Des Moines branch was profitable enough that we could sustain a loss for those years. But it was tough. It was getting really, and we bought a building over there, so we had real estate. We came across a building that made sense for us over there, and we bought it year 1. So here we got a building over there. We're trying to figure out if we leave, do we sell the building? Do we lease the building? And I'm just not one to give up. And my business partner, Matt, was like, man, we can't quit, but we can't keep losing. I mean, we're bleeding money over there.
Yeah.
And so we started sending people from our Des Moines office over there to try to get more accounts as well. So we kind of had this just attack. Let's just go attack Omaha, and let's just see if we put a couple hundred bids out, can we get 20 accounts?
Yeah.
And we were getting nothing back. It was tough.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So 6 to 7 years, I guess they were prepared to fund that, essentially.
We weren't really prepared.
Not prepared,
but did. I just want to kind of one interesting thing I'm taking away from what Corey said there is like, yeah, I mean, in this situation, you'd really have to kind of check your ego and like who you're good in the market that you are. But the thing is, you're expanding and now you're in someone else's domain, right? Yeah. Where you're essentially trying to go eat their bread. Yeah. Right. And they've been there for, as he said, like 20 to 30 years. Like these buildings are clearly getting serviced. They have been getting serviced and it's been by somebody else. And you need to go in there as the guy that nobody knows about and take those contracts essentially.
Yeah.
Well, and one other thing, our competitors were using against us, which we also do in the Des Moines market. Our competitors were saying, hey, by the way, they're not even local. They're out of Des Moines, Iowa. And so... And that happens here in Des Moines when some national companies move in and they bid against us. We say, hey, by the way, they're out of Michigan. And so they're like, oh, I thought they were local. And so we use that to our advantage when we're trying to sell key clients. And our competitors in Omaha were doing the same exact thing. So it took Josh, our branch manager over there, a while to say, hey, no, we've got a facility here. I live here. I've got a staff. Yeah. But our competitors were saying they're not even local. And they're not going to have the resources to take care of you long term. They're brand new. And so we had kind of forgot how much leverage we had in Des Moines. And that did not transfer over to a new market at all. They'd never heard of us.
Yeah. Corey, I'm gonna bring this home.
Listen, if you like that clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here. If you're not yet subscribed, you probably should be. And you can do that by clicking right here.